Hi, and thank you for joining. Go ahead and have a seat. Get your cup of tea ready, okay? Because this is a very good message that I'm going to be teaching on. It's coming from the book of Isaiah, chapter 58. Yes, it's about true and false worship, but it's highlighting around fasting, okay? Now, this first part really speaks to what we see today. Although this was written so long ago, it's so relevant to our time, okay? One thing I noticed in my walk with the Lord and understand, I knew, like, I caught on to this some time ago, and I'm like, some things are just not necessarily to do if God is not going to accept it, right? So, in one regard, I look at this passage as like giving a gift to someone, and let's say they like flowers, and you get them chocolates, and you don't know that they really don't like chocolates, but you give them chocolates, and they really like flowers, and you kind of still want them to accept the gift because you were kind enough to give that to them, right? Well, God has an attitude when we try to give him stuff he doesn't want, all right? He's God, he created everything. We were created for worship, and he doesn't just want us to give him worship because um, we want to do it our way. No, he has a certain particular way he likes to receive his gifts, okay? So let's get into this. The first part says, shout with the voice of a triumph, um, shout with the voice of a trumpet blast. Shout aloud. Don't be timid. So whoever he's talking to specifically here is telling them, listen, don't be passive. Make sure you make yourself known and clear and be loud about this. Okay? Shout it loudly. Make sure you do it with boldness. Tell my people Israel of their sins. Yet they act so pious, okay? They come to the temple every day and seem delighted to learn all about me. Don't we not see this in this day and time? Don't people go to church on a regular basis? Don't some people even dress so pious to the point where they look so holy and clean and so religious? We know this is in our actual generation. They act like a righteous nation that would never abandon the laws of its God. They ask me to take action on their behalf, pretending they want to be near me. We have fasted before you, they say. Why aren't you impressed? We have been very hard on ourselves, and you don't even notice. I tell you why. I respond. Now this is what I love, because sometimes it's not easy getting an answer from God. But this tells me that God doesn't mind answering his people. He actually wants to answer us. But this is why sometimes you can't get an answer because you are not really sincere in what you produce unto him, and you're not giving him what he asks for with the right spirit, and he doesn't want something that's not pure before him, okay? He wants us to give it to him the way he wants us to give it to him, not the way we want to present it to him, okay? That's not fair to him who is clean and righteous, all knowing, who created us. This is what he said. I will tell you why. I respond. It's because you are fasting to please yourselves. Even while you fast, you keep oppressing your workers. What good is fasting when you keep fighting and quarreling? This kind of fasting will never get you anywhere with me. Well, this is telling me right here that this type of fasting is in vain. And I know a lot of times there are corporate fasts on social media. People are called together. Now, the one thing I get concerned about, sometimes people fast out of obligation, especially in a community setting of churches, where the leader calls a fast for a certain purpose, and certain people do it out of obligation, but the heart is not there, and then they do it. But the question I would have is, did God receive that? Okay, because if the Lord is not receiving it, then they're just walking around hungry. Okay, and they should have just went on and eaten if they did not have the same heart or desire as the leader who had the vision for the fast. And it says, um, you humble yourselves. by going through the motions of penance, bowing your heads like reeds spinning in the wind. And you know, sometimes it is that outward appearance that um, people have perception that they must be right with God. Look at how they carry themselves. Look at how they dress. Wow. And that ideal of what holiness looks like is sometimes um, so misleading. Of course, there is a specific, a very specific way that people of God should look and carry themselves, uh, not being legalistic about dress, but appropriate unto God, as modesty is concerned. So let's go on what it says. It says, so you dress in burlap and cover yourselves with ashes. Is this what you call fasting? Do you really think this will please the Lord? What some people did, obviously. And even in this time, some people think that certain things they do is going to please the Lord. But they haven't had a heart check. And I say that because um, they go through religious emotions, but God is really not in that stuff that they're presenting to Him. And if they really understood, they really would know they're wasting their time. So it goes on to say, no, this is the kind of fasting I want. God is clear on this. Free those who are wrongly in prison. Lighten the burden of those who work for you. Let the oppressed go free. And remove the chains that bind people. Share your food with the hungry and give shelter to the homeless. Give clothes to those who need them, and do not hide from relatives who need your help. Then your salvation will come like dawn, and your wounds will quickly heal. Your godliness will lead you forward, and the glory of the Lord will protect you from behind. Then, when you call, the Lord will answer. And this messed me up right here. Yes, I am here. He will quickly reply. Now, that's beautiful for everyone who has those concerns of you feel like God is not listening because He doesn't respond as fast as you would like Him to. This would be a good examinator, to see if you fall short in this area. And if you do, okay, well, let me tell you how to fix that. Acknowledge it. Don't try to hide it from God. And you please don't try to hide it for yourself. The worst thing you can do is be in self-denial. Acknowledge it to yourself and forgive yourself and acknowledge it for the Lord and ask Him to forgive you. And it says here He will be there and He will reply quickly. So, and that's what you want. You want the Lord to quickly reply to you. Remove the heavy yoke of oppression. Stop pointing your finger and spreading vicious rumors. Ooh, this part is, man, that's some hot stuff right there. Because in the society we're in, there's always somebody pointing a finger, right? And you know that saying, if you point one finger at someone, you got four fingers pointing back at you. That's what I used to hear growing up. Now, well, actually, I heard it later in life, not when I was growing up, but I used to hear that, and I was so tickled by that. But that's just the way the society is. It's easier to um, just shine a light on somebody else's stuff when you're not willing to work on your stuff in real time. But the Lord is telling us clearly, stop doing that, okay? Feed the hungry and help those in trouble. Like it's saying, you want to fast? Okay. You don't have to deny yourself from food. What you need to do is treat people right. And He was talking to those in leadership because, as you can see, it was about workers and about letting people go free and things like that. It was talking to people who had means. They weren't people, obviously, who were broke, because if they were broke, then He wouldn't have been telling them to certain things like, make sure they look out for those relatives that they can help. Okay, and if you're going to help somebody, you got to have something. You got to have some, you got to have some change in order to help somebody else that's in need. Now, I'm not saying that people that have less can't help other people, because having less doesn't stop you from being able to help somebody if you can. All right, so I want to make that clear. And He said, feed the hungry and help those in trouble. Then your light will shine out from the darkness, and the darkness around you will be as bright as noon. The Lord will guide you continually, giving you water when you are dry, and restoring your strength. You will be like a well watered garden, like an ever flowing spring. Some of you will rebuild the deserted ruins of your cities. Then you will be known as a rebuilder of walls and a restorer of homes. Keep the Sabbath day holy. Don't pursue your own interests on that day, but enjoy the Sabbath and speak of it with delight as the Lord's holy day. Honor the Sabbath in everything you do on that day, and don't follow your own desires or talk idly. Then the Lord will be your delight. I will give you great honor and satisfy you with the inheritance I promised to your ancestor Jacob. I, the Lord, have spoken. This is some good stuff here. I really hope you enjoyed this word today. I hope you learned something, because again, this type of fasting is some real good stuff. Um, it's not necessarily about abstaining from food. If you're going to abstain from food, that's great, and of course, that is a form of fasting. But don't let the priority of abstaining for food be um, the highlight, and overlook the main things that you should be abstaining from. Like, again, acting religious, being pious, um, disrespecting people, not really being true to his principles that are already in place. Now, of course, this is Old Testament writing from Isaiah, but when Jesus gave his principles, if you look at it, you will see it's all right here too. In the Beatitudes, Matthew chapter 5, a lot of this content is definitely repeated in that. Okay, for those who feel like, well, that's Old Testament, some of that does not apply. Well, this does, okay, to a certain degree. Because as far as the Sabbath is concerned, we know that as far as when Jesus died, he actually fulfilled all of that. And the main thing that he told us that matters now is that we love God with all our heart, soul, and mind, and we love our neighbors ourselves. And if you love your neighbors yourself, you're going to do what Isaiah 58. You're going to do right by your neighbor in full context, okay? So I really hope that this word have found you well. And until the next time you sit with me, God bless you and enjoy your tea.